the Williams sisters and Beyonce and Solange to the Hemsworth and Kelsey brothers. Why is it that some families have multiple siblings who achieve extraordinary success? New York Times Magazine writer Susan Dominus wanted to find out what we can learn from high-achieving families.
Her book is called The Family Dynamic, A Journey into the Mystery of Sibling Success. Susan joins us now. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is interesting how some families, it's like every kid hits it out of the park, and then you have some where it's an anomaly, where you have one kid who's very, I don't know how you measure success, but one who is maybe, excels in their field, and the others are just living ordinary lives. What have you found to be the truest measure of how that happens?
Well, I was interested in families in which the kids were not just successful in conventional ways, but were also kind of trailblazers and innovators, overcomers. And you may not be surprised to hear that one of the common threads that I heard among these families was a tremendous sense of optimism. You know, families saying like, with God's help, all things are possible. That was kind of remarkably similar to something that, two different families said. And in a lot of these families, the parents themselves had done something that was maybe quietly extraordinary. And I think it both modeled for kids that, very difficult things could be achieved with hard work and faith. And maybe also the kids kind of inherited some of those qualities from their parents.
Sure. In terms of the helicopter parenting strategy, did you find that in any of these parents?
Interestingly, and that's a great question, I found quite the opposite. A lot of the people, the siblings that I spoke to in these books, remarked on the fact that their parents weren't overly invested in their success, that they were people who would show up for the game, but they weren't the parents who were coaching the coach.
Mm-hmm.
They, one woman said that her mother was Japanese and had a way of watching without desire, which I think she didn't mean that her mom didn't want to be there when she was dancing with the American Ballet Theater, which this director did at a young age, but that her mother watched without her own ego being overly involved.
What about those old adages of the oldest child is the most successful, or the youngest? Oldest, middle, youngest. Have you found any of those things to be true or matter?
Well, so it turns out that birth order doesn't really influence your personality. Like if you're the oldest sibling, you're not necessarily the most conscientious, which is how we think of older siblings usually. It's just that you were the oldest sibling, so you're a little bit more developmentally advanced and you might be a little more responsible. But the oldest child does actually tend to have an IQ edge, and it's thought that that's because they get all of that enrichment from their parents during that time when they're an only child. And also because maybe they benefit from doing a little bit of instruction of their younger siblings, which helps consolidate knowledge. So it is true that oldest siblings do have a bit of an academic edge that could translate into more success later on.
You did say that youngest siblings, there's a lot of them that tend to go professional in sports.
Oh, well, so because the oldest sibling tends to be the most academic, there's a thinking that younger children try to differentiate very deliberately and throw themselves into something where their older sibling isn't that invested. And that often is not in this country, is sports. So yes, there's research that suggests that younger children are overrepresented in elite sports, in varsity high school sports, that kind of thing.
And siblings coaching younger siblings, I don't mean just in sports, but is that a strategy that these parents incorporate, or is it you just find that sometimes that happens and it seems to be successful?
I think sometimes it just happens and it seems to be successful. I mean, I think sometimes siblings really lean on each other. You see sibling effects being more powerful in disadvantaged families. And that's not because the parents aren't equally invested as parents. It's just they have less time, they're working longer. The kids they have less money for extracurriculars. And so the kids end up spending more time together and therefore influencing each other more.
So you're not saying, I'm curious overall, do you find it's too highly educated parents that produce more successful children, or is it really, it's just all over the board?
Well, I went out of my way to write about families from a variety of backgrounds, including young people whose parents had never gone to college. Going to college is something that requires money, and that definitely is kind of the single biggest predictor of whether someone's going to have financial stability later in life. So it helps to have parents who were college educated, because chances are they have a little bit more money, and therefore they can send you to college. But on the other hand, having parents who are college educated is far from a requisite. It's, there are real structural hurdles, but the families I wrote about were able to succeed despite their own parents' limited educations.
Well, the book is The Family Dynamic, a journey into the mystery of sibling success. For more, follow Susan on Instagram. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.